come. They're great speakers, so I think you'll enjoy them. They can talk more about themselves. But
okay.
they're good.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. So you got to tell us your names.
Oh, I got markers. I got lots of them. Yeah. Two different colors.
Yes, okay. Okay, so by a show of hands, how many people, first of all, have heard of Action Coach before? Raise your hand. Okay, I thought that maybe. How many people have used Action Coach in some way before? Wow.
Or some other coach.
I mean, and not necessarily, yeah, just,
Yeah.
or some other coach, it could. Yeah, excellent. Excellent. That's good. Okay, so today, what is our topic?
Employee.
How to hire the best employee.
Excellent.
And how to retain great employees.
Okay, so by a show of hands, how many people hire, they're responsible for hiring or interviewing or making a choice in some hiring?
Hiring decisions, about
Wow.
half of them, more.
Wow, that's
great.
good.
Very
That's
good.
good. Well, then this will work.
Good. And is
topic.
it always perfect when you do it? Does it work every single time and last forever?
Yeah, right.
Just check.
Yeah, just
I have the best employees. I'm just going to say that out loud.
Best employees.
Are they here?
Good answer.
They're all here.
Good. They need to hear that. Good for you.
They do need to hear
They
that.
need to hear that. That's wonderful things.
So we'll do a quick introduction. Peg is a graduate of Ohio State, the Ohio State University, with a degree in marketing and journalism.
Now, we were in Michigan yesterday.
They're in the NIT,
We were in
you know.
Michigan yesterday, and Pete goes, Peg is a graduate of Ohio State, and literally they were hissing. And I was like, well, I feel a little, embarrassed coming up here to you guys. So, no,
Yeah, but they do say Ohio, different than we do.
Yes, we say that.
Yeah, and she lives in Upper Arlington, has 2 children. Allie is 11, or Allie's 14, and Lauren is 11. They've got 3 dogs, 2 cats. You've been married to John for 21 years. We have 25 to 30 clients at a time, and we have usually 3 or 4 vets. So she's been collecting animals for the last 4 or 5 years. 5 years ago, she had 0. Now she's got all these dogs and cats.
No, they're so cute.
Right, and you just keep coming. She worked for the Clear Channel Radio Group for about 20 years, over 20 years, in Columbus most of the time, and managed large groups of sales professionals, so people that were highly commissioned salespeople. If they don't sell, they don't eat. And high pressure job, up to 40 people, and then you also ran one of the radio stations for many years, had P&L responsibility for that business.
Okay, thank
Good?
you.
And you're very competitive, I know that.
Yes, and so if you can imagine when we coach, we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them. So that's what it's all about. It's about getting you to where you want to go. So before I introduce Pete, I want to tell you something. Everybody raise your hand. Okay, no, just raise it another 2 inches. Okay, that's what's coaching. You raised your hand, you knew you could go farther without us telling you. You didn't do it, you did it. Look at what you did, you achieved more.
You're brilliant.
That's what coaching's all about. That's what Pete does a great job at that. Pete has been a coach for the last 13 years. I've been a coach for the last 12 years. Pete's background is different than mine. He's a chemical engineer by training and ran manufacturing plants all over from Buffalo to Chicago to Alabama, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week plants. And so his job was really getting to know the people and getting them to do the right thing in the right way and hiring in the right way and retaining them. Because if they made a mistake, what do you think happened? People would die. They literally would die. So not only did that, but he was also a mediator and a negotiator for union contracts because everything was unionized. And so can you imagine trying to get in Chicago between 2 union people?
This is a lot more fun.
Yeah, needless to say, it's a lot more fun. So Pete ended up getting his MBA, enjoyed getting to know the business, running the plants, ended up not doing the chemical engineer, but running the plants, liked it so much, decided to become a coach. His neighbor was a coach. He has 3 kids, lives in Dublin. The oldest is, I don't know the age, so I'm going to skip the age. The oldest is in Chicago as a radiologist. How old is he?
29.
29, thank you. The middle one is David. He works at, Cardinal Health. Cardinal Health is a programmer, just graduated from Penn, and he is
25.
Thank you. And then there's Emily. Do you notice how we tell you about our kids, by the way? We want you to know us personally because that's what matters. Emily's graduating from the Ohio State University.
All right.
No hisses? Yes, thank you. She is in pre-med and she's going to go to medical school as well. So isn't that unbelievable? See, he would never say that. He'd be like, oh, no, I can brag about them because they're not mine. So Pete and I have been partners for 10 years. Coaching, a lot of coaches come out and they usually are single entities. They buy a franchise or they're on their own. It can become really lonely. And I think what happened is when Pete and I had our separate franchises, we ended up joining together after a year on our own.
Right.
And then it sustained us. It allowed us to have a team. And then we have another coach, that's our associate, Michelle, who's actually, I hate to say it, in Michigan today. We have a lot of clients in Michigan. So she's not with us today. Otherwise, she would be here as well. Okay.
Very good.
Good enough, do you know it? Good? We don't want to spend that much time.
Yeah, we've actually worked with a couple of companies in the room.
Okay, yeah, raise your hand if we've worked with you.
Go.
There we got Bill, we got Aaron.
Cleary Company.
Yeah, there we go. Excellent, look at that. Lots
And we
of-
work with some larger companies too. We do some executive coaching with the Scott's Company, some law firms, a steel supplier, Coil Plus Ohio, that if you see these coils of steel on the back of trucks that are used in auto manufacturing and appliance manufacturing, so we work with their management teams. And we do a little traveling. We were in Turkey a few years ago, which was really interesting.
Nice.
But they really love America.
And we're going to
They were
China
fun.
in a
We're
couple
going to
months. So we're international. We're international. Isn't that neat? Okay, so today, does everybody have a drink? Are we having fun? Okay, so we want you to have fun with us. That's why there's no PowerPoint. It's St. Patrick's Day. Why not? So we have an easel here. So the number one thing we wanted you to walk away with is, number one, when we coach companies, how do we retain and how do we keep good people? Well, number one is take a look at your culture. Because you will retain, attract, and so when you say you have good people and they've stayed, it's obvious that you have a good culture and people want to stay because they like it. So how do you create a culture that people want to not only be attracted to, but want to stay? Well, it first starts with a frame of reference and an expectation of yourself and others. It's called above and below the line. How many people have seen this before?
Oh, quite a few.
How many people know Urban Meyer? Do you know he just wrote a book? Do you know what the book was called? Above the Line. Aaron, have you read it? You just know.
There's a book called The Oz Principle. It has some things that are very similar to this, that talk about this. And really, this is one of the most important things we do with our business owners and our managers and our leaders at the Scott's Company, is to help them understand that when you have an organization and you have blame going on in the organization, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a bad thing. Usually things happen when they start blaming the economy or blaming their competitors or blaming other employees. Things just don't get done. If you give excuses for why you're late for work or why you didn't get the paperwork filled out correctly, it's going to be a problem. Sooner or later, you're not going to get the right thing done at the right time. You're going to deny that there's a problem in the first place. Haven't made a profit in 4 months, well, it's not that big of a deal, right? But if we take ownership for things, whether they're in our personal lives or our business life, we're going to get more accomplished. If we are accountable for the results we get, my wealth, my relationships, my fitness, my health, everything is about what I've done in the past to get to this point, right? It's really decisions I made either yesterday or the week before that got me here, and I'm responsible to take the actions I need to take to get to where I really want to be. So that's what it's about, is being above the line as much as you can. And we're not here all the time, right? We're human beings, so we're going to drop down there once in a while. And even blaming yourself is a problem. You can recognize that you've made a mistake. Hey, I was a little sharp with somebody today. I've got to go apologize. But don't stay there and beat yourself up all day. Go take care of it if you can, but move on.
So I'm going to give you an example. And Aaron and Michael from the Cleary Company, we have what's called a 90-day planning session, and we bring businesses together every 90 days to write your plan. And we just had this on Friday, and George Cleary, who might not be here, well, who is not here, I know, but you may know, he got up and he told a story about how he had attracted some good people and how he's really building a great team, and he really is. And we had somebody in the audience, and I met with them today, and you know what they said? He's been in business for 25 years, and he said, and I don't mean this as a cut, I mean it as a compliment, but if George can do it, so can I. Because for years, you know what I keep saying? I keep saying there's nobody who can do it like me. There's no way that I can replace myself. There's no way that I can build because he was so far below the line that he said, you know what? I realize I'm not looking at it the right way. That I realize that if I want to grow my company and attract great people, I have to be above the line and say, I'm going to take ownership and I'm going to find these people. Because I know if George can find them, I know I can too. So that's what you have to have the state of mind. So that's why we started here.
Well, and if you think about the employees you have in your business, how many of your managers are owners in a business? So who hired these folks, right? Who interviewed them? Yeah, who trained them? Who developed a training plan? If you have one, what is a training plan? A checklist even of the things that you got to make sure that they know how to do before they get started. So a lot of those things, if you can remind yourself of these, you're going to make much better hiring decisions.
So we go through, which we're not going to get into, a 4-hour hiring process. And who has done our 4-hour hiring process before? Bill, you have a funny story, don't
Bill
you?
has, yeah.
You have, I don't know if we have time to tell it. Do we have time? Is that okay?
We have a quick process. The process, we help you create an ad. So an ad that looks a little bit different than other ads, because really what the ad is about is attracting attention, right? If you go to a website with 100 ads on it, you want to be able to zero in on something that catches your eye. So we number one, create an ad. We screen people over the phone and make sure that they have the qualities that we really want to attract for that business. So we talk to the business owners to make sure we know what those qualities are and design the ad in a way to attract those kind of people. The next thing we do is when somebody calls in, we have them answer 2 or 3 questions. And usually they're pretty simple questions. What is it that gets you up in the morning to get you to work? What's something your boss might say about you if we ask them, positive or negative? Things like that. And we had somebody, we've done this for years. We had somebody with Bill's company, one of these candidates called in and said, I have no idea what you're doing. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to answer these questions. You guys are, and he went on and on.
He cursed.
Yeah, he cursed.
He used curse words. I'm not going to use the curse words because I think it would be
You guys are
offensive.
nuts.
Honestly, they were hardcore. Were they not, Bill? I mean, we're not speaking out. I'll never
That was
forget
shocking.
you. You came into that office. I remember that you came in and you go, my God, if we had not done this, I might have hired this guy because he could have snowed me. You know, like thank goodness we found out that this guy is crazy before we even interviewed him.
So we call it a deselection process, and that's one of the ways you weed through the stuff, right? To get to the goal.
Part of hiring, so part of retaining is making sure we bring on people. First, it's your culture, right? Making sure you're attracting. So we like breeze through that very quickly in the interest of time. Second is having a hiring process that makes sure that you're doing it in the right way and deselecting. And part of that process is making sure that you're fitting the right person and the right role with the behavior profile. How many people have seen the DISC behavior profile?
Oh,
Awesome. How many people just love it? And oh my gosh.
2 of you. Oh, 4. Great. Maybe you'll love it after this.
Yes, so go ahead. So what we're going to do is with the rest of our time, we're going to explain this, but we're going to do it in an exercise. So grab your drink.
We want everybody to
If you don't
stand
have
up.
a drink, it's
I drank
okay.
it all.
I'm just going to ask you 2 questions. Everybody stand up.
You don't have to have a drink.
You gotta
It's just, if you
participate.
have a drink, you're welcome to
If you participate, you're much more likely to remember it, right? So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. And these 2 questions, the answers will help determine where your DISC profile lies on this chart. So if you like information delivered to you, or maybe you talk really fast, you make quick decisions, you're really fast thinker and talker, and generally move fast, come all the way to the front of the room. If you're extremely slow, go right to the green tables back here. And if you're in the middle, you're in the middle. So front is very, very fast. Back is very, very slow. And the middle is kind of in the middle.
You as fast, you gotta
And
go.
there's no right or wrong answer.
Things fast,
It's
get up.
connected, right? So it's what you think. Okay, so everybody's got an idea where they are from really speedy to really slow. Now, question number 2 is, do you tend to be more task-oriented? Hey, I got a list of things I'm going to do today. I'm going to get them all done. I'm checking them off one at a time. Don't bother me. I'm trying to get this stuff done. Or you're more of a people person. You love and engage and talk to people. It energizes you to be around people. If you're highly people-oriented, go all the way over here. And if you're highly task-oriented, go all the way here. And then again, you could be in the middle and keep your front-to-back position the same. We were with a team, it was this morning, we were at the business transformation team at the Scott's Company, and it's the computer services department for 2,000-3,000 people. And the management team, and they were very spread out across the room, which is really interesting because sometimes you'd think that certain types of folks in the same career would be wired the same. Well, it's not necessarily so.
So what we're going to do is go around and tell you, and we have about 5 minutes. Is that right, Jim?
We're good. We're good.
10 minutes. We're going to go through each quadrant. We're going to do a quick role play.
So people up here, fast-paced, task-oriented people tend to be, again, fast. They might talk a little louder than other folks. They're going to make relatively quick decisions, sometimes to their detriment, but they're going to make a decision. If I'm going to talk to one of these folks, I want to get to the point right away because they want to know what's the results of this interaction we're having. If you send them a long email, I'm up here someplace. If it's real long, I'm going to delete it. Or I'll just never read it. Because you can't keep my attention span that long. They're pretty decisive, they're pretty assertive, they like new projects, so they're not going to stick on one thing any too long, so they're going to move on. So sometimes they miss a detail or two.
We'll call them direct, and there's about 10% of the U.S. is in that quadrant. It's a high D.
My oldest son and I, Ben, when he passed the test, he went and took an exam for med school here in Columbus. And we decided to go to Austin, Texas to listen to music and drink some beer for a weekend after his test. And we got into the airport, Columbus Airport, sat across the gate at the bar and missed the plane. Sitting at the bar watching TV, getting caught up, and the plane takes off. And we walk over there and they're like, yeah, we left about an hour ago.
Okay. Well, speaking of the bar,
Fun.
That was me.
Their key word, eyes. This group over here, these guys like, oh, we should do role play.
I know you're going to go through them all.
Oh, we'll go home. Okay. So the eyes, the key word is fun. These folks are energized by being around other people. Their own kids, somebody else's kids, whoever it is. And other employees, they're going to enjoy whatever they're doing, and it's going to be with other people. And they're going to want to go out after work or go out to lunch.
And these are called influencers. Natural salespeople, and that doesn't mean other people can't be salespeople. It just means that's what they gravitate towards. This is the natural, I want to be a manager because I have to run it all. And everybody above this line is going to speak usually quicker and loud. See, all of a sudden they're so loud.
And their emotions, you're going to know how they feel most of the time. You have employees like this, right? And coworkers and friends. You know how they feel, and you're laughing because you're thinking of somebody. The S's are calm, slower paced, talk a little quieter, and they're a little more methodical, and they're concerned about everybody's comfort. Is it warm enough in here? That kind of stuff.
They're sweet.
Sweet.
They're kind. They're inclusive. They're team-oriented.
Let's everybody bring some food in.
These guys will generally be HR, supportive. They can also be great leaders. They tend to not want to be leaders, but when they're a leader, darn it, they're a good leader because they're so caring and loyal.
So my boys, I've got one here and one here. This one, when we go to a restaurant, it takes them a while when you have 10 pages on the menus. It's going to be a while. So you might as well just relax, order another drink, and wait. Because David's going to figure out what he wants. That's okay. And if you have a client or a customer like this, and they're looking at hundreds of these pieces of material, it's going to take them a little longer if they're here than if they're here and you have to go on their time, right?
And then the C's are all about being cautious. And you see this, the 30 to 35%, by the way, of S's, that's going to be your highest. So that's our highest percent in the U.S. This is a U.S. number. The C's are 20 to 25%, and they're all about process. They're cautious. They're detailed. So they're going to be your CFOs, your accountants. They're going to be your doctors. They're all about, and they're going to be skeptical in nature. They're not going to smile a whole lot. One of their downfalls is that they may appear to be cold because they're always looking, like figuring it out, not smiling.
And it doesn't mean they're unhappy. They just don't show.
And they don't like to be at events like this, so we may not have a whole lot of C's. But again, if you're a C, but you may be an S, you'll be at an event like this because the people part of you says, I want to be here. If you're 100% C, it's probably a challenge to be here.
So one of the big companies we work with, several years ago, we walked into the front desk. They've got 1,000 employees. There's a lady at the front desk who's got a computer. We go in to get our name tags, so you have to have a security thingy. And she's asked your name. She's typing in the computer. She never looks up. Tell her name, type it out. She hands it to you. There you go. And she was down here someplace. Very analytical. Now they have someone who will look you in the eye, say, hey, I hope you have a nice day, smile at you a bit, and it's a better role for that person. So the person up there now is a lot happier in their job. Peg's put in the animal equivalents of these profiles down here. One of our veterinary practices put little stickers on the cards that you keep your animals' records on with these on there so they knew what the profile of the owner of the pet was. Just so you knew, if it's somebody up here, you're going to want to get to the point fast. Here they have the surgery, the pet's going to die in a week. Now the surgery is $800. If something else goes wrong, it could be $1,200. What do you want to do? That's fine with them. This person, you're going to have to slow way down.
So this is otter being playful, golden retriever, lovable, sweet, kind, beaver, worker, and then the tiger, it can be aggressive and or assertive. So the one thing we wanted you walk away with this is make sure before you hire that you understand what profile you're hiring for before you hire it. And then when you are doing the hiring process, make sure you do this behavior profile assessment to see if it's a right fit. It's just one of the many steps you should take to make sure that we're putting the right people in the right place in order to get the retention. Because if we have the culture, we create the job descriptions, we understand the person we want, and we put the right fit, that should all meld together.
In your larger companies, if you have a great project manager and you happen to need another one, do a profile on the one that's successful in the role already, and then you can hire accordingly. Okay.
And actually, our time is up.
Our time
So
is
there's
up.
no,
You
there's,
do Q&A.
And there's no test.
there's no test.
Questions?
Yeah. Yes.
How do you, in half an hour, decide who's a beaver, golden retriever, otter, tiger?
So now, you know how long we coach HVAC companies. We have a lot of heating and cooling companies. And we coach customer service departments. How many seconds do you think we coach them to understand how long? How many seconds do they
I don't
have?
know. I just
5
wanna-
seconds.
How do I do that? How do
Okay,
I
so
do
in
that?
5 seconds, they need to know because we have a script depending on the person they're talking to, because your approach should be different. So the first thing we say is, remember when we said if you're above and below that line, first thing you want to know is how fast are they talking or slow, or how loud or soft. So then you cut your odds, right? See, has anybody done the Myers-Briggs? Which is, I love that. Isn't that wonderful? It's wonderful, and I love it. The only reason we don't use that here is because it becomes a little bit more involved and complicated because of all the ways. It's not that it's not a wonderful tool. It's just if I have 5 seconds, I need to go to this. So first we say, what is it? Is it above or below? So that tells us whether it's a D or an I, or an S or a C. So when we coach veterinarians, it's not uncommon for us to shadow the doctor into the room just to help them. And then based on, that alone, so they go, okay, it's SC or a DI, so we know it's better, right? So now we know our scripts. The other thing is you want to hear in their language, are they asking for things to be done, or are they doing small talk? Like, how are you? Like, just phrases like, how are you? What's going on? Well, thank you. That kind of thing, versus, well, can you tell me that's an S or a C? So it's the phrases, and so the best way to do it is to, like what Pete said, is you need to educate yourself on the.
There are a
so-
couple really good paperbacks
This
that
one right
describe
here.
the disc, and then how do you determine really quickly. This one here is all about phone. If you've never met someone, how quickly you can determine what type of person they are and adjust a little bit based on them by the words and the tone of voice and the things they say over the phone.
And this People Smart Business does the same thing. So what we've done in those cases is we make sure that the people are educated and that they practice. Here's a piece of homework we give is, and I think Erin, maybe we've had you do this, is did we tell you, okay, whatever profile you're the least like, you have to practice it. So in that profile of DISC, if you were a high D, maybe you were the lowest in S, you have to practice being an S for 10 minutes. But you have to know enough to know how to practice it, so you have to educate yourself.
So that's hard.
It's very hard. And if you've ever done 10 minutes, it's a long time. We coach an engineering company, national engineering company, and they're all, where are they? We think engineers. So we made them be an I, and they said it was the worst penance they've ever had to have. Oh my gosh, what'd you make us do? But it's in order to that when you do have that moment where you have to adapt, that you're used to it and you know how to practice. I'm not going to send a basketball player out. I coach basketball. I'm not going to ask my team to go and do a foul shot if I haven't had them practice foul shots during a game. Why would I ask you during a sales call or during an event that matters, adapt without practicing it first? And that we forget that. We forget that because we're so busy that we forget to take a moment and practice.
Other questions?
So we use strength finders.
Oh, that's a great one. I love Strength Finders.
Yes, Steve hasn't done that yet.
That's a great one. Strength Finders is wonderful.
So I hire everybody I like.
You hire people like you.
Yeah, I'm up here. I'm going to hire everybody just like me.
We have seen that come
I think I do, but I don't really. But we're all people. I hire people.
Yeah. Which is good and which depends on the position. Any other questions?
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
All right.